Okay, can everyone see my screen now? Teddy, just to make sure that you're able to see my screen.
Yep. Go ahead.
Thank you, everyone, specifically Block Live Asia for giving us the opportunity to present Yucan to the community. Let me introduce to you Yucan. Yucan is specifically going into the loyalty points marketplace, and it's a big industry. Specifically in areas that we are covering for now is focusing on the hospitality and travel space. Raymond and myself, being the founders of this initiative, has been in the hospitality space for a while. And we see some shortfalls and big potentials in terms of how we can capitalize the profitability of the industry and entering through loyalty points. Specifically in relates to loyalty points, the loyalty points itself, as the industry, is covering about 300 billion of a market. And out of 300 billion, there are specific areas in relates to the category sets of service providers providing solutions for the industry, regardless be it retail, hospitality, travel, and so on and so forth. This page, what we're trying to address is specifically the areas of categories that is already available in the market in relates to businesses. And
Sorry to interrupt, Nadhir.
Yeah.
We can't see your screen. Actually, if you're sharing a screen,
okay.
We can't see the slides. We could see it before.
Okay. Could you see now? Are we good?
Yes.
Okay. So specifically this page, we are emphasizing on the in relates to the loyalty industry. There are various category sets of service providers who are providing services for businesses in order for them to facilitate the loyalty points for its members across their businesses. And we realize that majority of the services that is currently being provided by the industry is a bit fragmented. In order to facilitate the point systems and each businesses across the industry or across businesses, even though in the same vertical industry, a quick example in relates to a hotel, for example. A hotel business owner has its own ways of methodologies of how it will reward its members. For example, someone is going to book a hotel, for example, for 3 or 2 days, they'll be rewarded like 200 points, for example. But at 200 points in itself, in an essence, it's not $200 worth. And this goes across the board to other hotels in the industry, or likewise the airlines per se. And it becomes complicated as far as the consumer is concerned. For example, if you were to commute and travel across different airlines and different hotels across your trip, you will be flooded with different member and loyalty points not being able to manage or unify the actual value that you have today. So you may travel like 5,000 kilometers across different countries, and you stay across different chains of hotels. Each and every airlines and each every hotel or even transport that you commute or you stay, you will not be able to have an overview of how much actually you are able to earn in relates to what's your points worth. So what we are trying to do is to basically simplify various aspects in relates to the consumer, which is the members, and likewise we are trying to simplify and consolidate totality in terms of how we can actually provide a single streamline of a point that you can use, or in our sense, which is Yucan tokens, to unify and simplify a set, uh, basically a token value that allows you to be for you to be able to understand how much you are actually worth, to simplify the process. Because the fact that every hotel owner and every airlines across every businesses has its own way of rewarding the points, and eventually you wouldn't know how much you have in reality. And for example, a page that we are showing you now, if you take a look, there are specifically on the bottom right, you have like 48 trillion of points. It's how it has been designed, whether is it intended or unintended. Points are naturally being burned off because there is always an expiry date as to when you need to consume it or utilize it or to get reimbursement. And naturally, the liabilities gets higher and higher. It's going on about 10 to 20% on growth year on year as far as the consumer spending is concerned. So in a nutshell, what we are trying to do is to enter a 360 billion marketplace, and it has big potential as to how we can actually grow if we were to able to spread across and to share with the community that there is such solutions in the market for you to simplify how much your loyalty points are worth across all your spending across the period. It will definitely be enticing, and it brings a lot of benefit because you will be able to have a snapshot overview of how much your loyalty points in total is worth. This is just some of the typical scenario that we experience as far as the consumer is concerned. It relates to travel and hospitality, which is the first industry we want to target. Example, if you can see the icon Alex at the center, he's been traveling for 100,000 miles across the year, and he may not travel. So he locks onto a specific airline he has been using, and he basically sees what are the points and the expiry date and the status and so on and so forth. There are many cases as such that in an instance that you will not be able to travel or you don't see any interest on traveling, but your points are expiring, you are obliged to pay a certain fee to the airlines. Otherwise, your points get burnt. This is also a good time for us to actually address the current situation specifically of what's going on in the world today with regards to the COVID and the pandemic, and the fact that in the hospitality and the travel space, specifically about 50 million has been unemployed. It will take a while for them to get back to their feet and try to get an employment. There will be a big surgence of a group of these category set to find ways to get their money back, because points is in actual fact is actually money. So what we are trying to do is to make sure we allow an opportunity of them trying to find ways to get out of this because of the limitations that has been set by the airlines, hotels, so on and so forth. So this typical scenario is what a person will actually go through in his life in relates to airlines and how he wants to manage and what kind of limitations that he will have to go through, and what are the kind of liabilities he has to pay in order for him to just renew his points. What we are trying to do now is to create a marketplace for a category set of people, which we believe technically the whole world who are exposed to e-commerce businesses, e-commerces, those who have to spending, whether be it online retail, they do shopping via Amazon or so on and so forth, or even like for example, like in Asia is Q10. There are some e-commerce websites where they buy in terms of consumer goods. It goes across the board to even to airlines, hotels, and so on and so forth. The game plan is to create a community to join in specifically for a person like Ken and Alex, as what we illustrated in the presentation, to find like-minded people who do not have any interest or wish to sell the existing point. For example, a person who will not travel, and instead of him not having a need and let it expire, it actually comes to a monetary value that he can actually sell to someone who may be keen to buy it, whether it be in a discount and so on and so forth. So what we are displaying in this page is two guys who is trying to see, they basically find a match that someone is willing to sell and someone is willing to buy. Yucan will then come in between, and the fact that every industry and every businesses has its own way of formulating the points. Yucan will then be the one to create a common denominator in specifically of how the actually points is worth. And with Yucan, which we're going to pack with USDT, that will be the underlying factor for people to realize how much the point is worth with the system that we're going to build. In exchange, if Ken and someone else who agrees to buy at that particular point, then that is when the transactions takes place, and we be the mediator to ensure that the points or the loyalty points has been transferred to the respective membership. So that is when it's relevant for us to have some smart contracts in relevant to the transactions that has been offered by the buyer or the seller or the person who bids. And what we are trying to address specifically at the blue icons, if you can see at the center, that the fact that we are creating a common denominator that will allow you to monetize and tokenize whatever points that you have. It will give us the flexibility to allow someone to actually sell and trade and points, whatever loyalty points he has, he can just put it in the marketplace and to basically advertise the points that he has for sale. Or for example, someone who wants to buy something via Amazon or a specific airline that he intends to travel, he can actually get the points transferred and use the Yucan tokens as a means of getting a discounted rate from the flights or the hotel stay that he wished to purchase. So that is one of the mission of what Yucan is trying to do. Yucan in itself will be broken up by two category sets, specifically on how we'll be able to facilitate the marketplace for consumers, basically loyalty member points, and another area which is specifically the businesses. So there are two big categories that we are focusing on now, as where we are heading and how we are entering the marketplace. We are focusing on the consumer's perspective in order to build up the community and create the demand. For example, if we are looking at about 360 billion worth of unutilized points, we are focusing and targeting at perhaps 10% in the next 2 or 3 years of a total points valued in the marketplace to be able to buy, trade, or sell, and so on and so forth. And when the activities of YUC gets busy in terms of how much someone will be able to capitalize and create, basically purchase YUC, then it will spill over to the other side, which is the businesses that we will have to cater with. In relates to the businesses, like Raymond and myself, we've been in the hospitality and the travel industry for a while. What we, our company is based in Singapore. We've registered with Singapore Tourism Board, and we are authorized travel agent. Our game plan is to work with our existing partners that we have already worked with across the years, is to create our own online travel agency, which is quite a common as what it has been perceived by many online travel agencies across the globe, providing the same booking like airlines and hotels and so on and so forth, like land transport. But the point of the unique selling proposition where we are targeting is that we will add a marketplace element within the businesses itself. And we are trying to change the way the perception of how a consumer would actually purchase a ticket, purchase a ticket or for a hotel stay, and the fact that having UCAN as a platform in between will allow the person, the booker, to realize that there are ways of us to get a substantial discount rather than just buying a hotel ticket and an airline ticket outright. Due to the fact that there are discounted rates, so to speak, from someone who intends to buy a flight ticket and realize that someone is selling a loyalty points which is worth a certain amount, and in actual totality you'll be able to get a 10-15% discount, for example, instead of buying the price that has been listed. It's a dog eat dog world, and how much how the industry is as such that there are limitations as to how the airlines and the hotel industry is, and the margins that goes back to the online travel agencies go back to 20 to 25%. And the 20 and 25% of markup basically is can you all see me? Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, yes, we can. Hi guys. Yeah, I think we've just lost
Hello.
Nadhir.
Yeah.
Oh, hi Nadhir. Yeah, you're back. Okay, great.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, so specifically, what we are trying to do is to create another avenue of the rule of the thumb is to be able to provide a cheaper booking for in an instance if someone was to book in a hotel or an airline or a flight, he'll be able to realize that he can get certain discount in relates to the loyalty points that he has, or even to the extent that someone who's willing to trade, because the person is not going to travel, you are able to buy the points instead. In reality, you'll be able to get the discount of the total price. And it goes to a certain extent that we have did some insights and research that it can even go down to 15 and 20% less. Ultimately, we realize that the fact that if you are entering ourselves into the blockchain space, there are various categories of areas that we can actually bring a discount. First things first, even though we will consider ourselves as an online travel agency, the fact that we will create a platform that allow the hotels and the airlines and so on and so forth to be able to embark and connect directly to our system, and that will give us and give the hotel owners or the airlines a specific discount rate as compared to what has been practiced in the market, that the airlines has to pay the online travel agencies 20 to 25% of the service fees. The fact that we are creating this system, and what we are trying to do is to create an open marketplace. We are giving the hotel owners and the businesses a significant discount. And the significant discount is and the only percentage that we will charge is basically the community that we're going to build along the way, and a specific percentage for the developers that we're going to work with and how we're going to reward them. So in actual sense, we are trying to make sure that it's a win-win situation for both the businesses and consumers. We are not here to compete, but rather we are trying to find ways for the businesses to have a cost saving in terms of how much they can maximize the returns that they can get from the consumers, while at the same time the consumers will be able to get a better pricing at a better rate. And these are some of the areas that we're going to tackle for this industry. And our market now that we are focusing in specifically is relates to the airlines and the hospitality industry, because it's a huge market for us to start off with. And these are the area that we are focusing on. But Yucan, YUC, as a token of its own, it's not limited to just this industry. We can go to various horizontal industries. It relates to retail, and so on and so forth. Why it's relevant for us to go into blockchain? I believe there are many news that has been exposed to the market, specifically in terms of transaction takes place between hotels and consumers, that unfortunately, because of how the transaction methodologies, unfortunately, there are hackings and so on and so forth. Specifically, like credit card details that has been released and it has been sold in the black market. Our game plan is to make sure that we bypass that process and to allow blockchain to be in the incorporation of our system, to ensure that there's no room for activity of hacking, which I believe is what businesses has been hoping to get this resolved. And on top of that, the fact that the transaction that we are targeting in the online travel website that we are building up, it will be in YUC. So the advantage that for us to go through this process, we be able to bypass the service fees by that being charged by the payment service providers. There are, as it stands, there is always a standard rate as to how much a payment service provider will charge the merchants, and it's been defined as a merchant discount rate, and there's always a discount rate of between 2 to 3%, which in reality we know that how much PayPal and so on and so forth are charging. In reality, the businesses will not want to absorb those charges and they throw it back to the consumers. So the fact that we are providing a token transactional based data, or for example a transaction that used on YUC, we be able to bypass the service transactional fees to both the businesses and the consumers. So in reality, the businesses will not need to pay to the payment service provider in terms of how much, for example, in the current market, 2 to 3%, but instead the saving goes back to the consumer. And there are also various issues across the businesses, in specific in terms of holding period and so on and so forth, that payment service provider will put your payment on hold. So these are various issues, various concerns that has been existing across the industry for a very long time. And likewise, with the current pandemic, there are points that will be stagnant. Likewise, there are people that is still resuming to travel. We find a good opportunity for us to embark in this journey, and at the same time to allow the consumers to simplify and get back whatever money they have, instead of just letting it burn. And this is where we are targeting, and we see so much potential. And basically, the smart contract, what we are trying to say in this paragraph, is where we are heading. We are trying to make sure that the loyalty point owners will be able to have a single platform, a wallet for them to justify, no matter how many membership that they have across the industry, specifically airlines, land transport, and so on and so forth. They'll be able to find a uniform amount, which is basically YUC, as a single number digit, instead of going through 5,000 points, 2,000 points, 1,000 points from various membership that they have, but in reality they would not know how much it's worth. And tentatively, where we are heading, we will definitely back YUC USDT. And in future, definitely we will start to be able to accept the other currencies. This is one of the use case that we also actually want to showcase as to how we are identifying the pool that we are going to create, we're going to configure and create. Likewise, looking at the biggest perspective to be able to understand how big the pools can grow. We are giving an example of HH pool, a generic basically a generic hotel pool and airline pool. And this, at the end of the day, we'll be able to realize that there are so many pools that across within the industry that allows businesses to enter and join our pool. So it's just not specifically airlines and hotels, but you can start to go into all the retail businesses and to join into the pool and to be in the community and just have a simplified process with YUC. And our what we intend to do is one of the areas of businesses and the kind of profitability we can get is basically to create integrations between respective retailers to be able to accept YUC. That is the game plan for us to approach, and they will be able to realize that it's just not to only simplify the process of creating a process in terms of simplifying the numbers of how much a member has the points in in a program, but also to allow the spending, because it will simulate more growth in terms of creating simplicity for the consumers in order to understand how can they actually spend. So it's just not limited. The token model now is just not limited to, for now, the phase that we are going through is only we are focusing on the airlines and the hospitality industry. But how YUC will be designed that you will be able to allow to enter across all industries, all horizontal industries. We just want to share with you, it's a long roadmap ahead of us. As we speak, we are in the midst of development. There are key different areas, as what I mentioned earlier. First things first is the marketplace that we will build in order to grow the community and to get adoption, specifically in terms of someone willing to buy and trade and so on and so forth. That is one marketplace that we would like to drive and to get more community to join us, like-minded people, specifically in order for them to be able to buy and sell. In exchange, they'll be able to get YUC in return. But it might be worthless if you are not able to produce certain platforms or elements to be able to utilize it. So the game plan is, once that has grown over a significant portion or certain benchmarks that we have set, at concurrent, what we're going to do, we're going to launch our online travel agency that be able to accept YUC tokens. And as the fact that we are integrating with specific wholesalers that we have already established our relationship with, it will open up to any big online travel agencies across the world, that we will be able to offer like 100,000 destinations and a million choices or options in terms of airlines and hotels for you to choose from. And that will simplify the process and to create and simulate the spending for YUC. And yes, the fact that we will go into, once we have the data in place and we'll be able to get a substantial amount of bookings and transactions, we will start to go into providing white labeling services for the businesses. And we will try to tie in specifically incorporating AI to create a community within every reach of people across the world, specifically to be able to geolocate some of the functionalities that we have in mind, to create the communities across each countries of like-minded people to be able to buy and sell and trade and so on and so forth. We definitely have a lot of development across the years, because we are covering quite a substantial amount of services to provide to our consumers, and likewise for the businesses. So it's a long journey ahead of us. And that sums up to what I would like to share.
Thank you very much, Nadhir.
Are there questions? Let me take a look.
So if anyone has any questions, you can just post them in the box below, or in the chat, and I will put them up. But thank you very much, Nadhir, for sharing about Yucan. You can find the links in the chat also.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadhir.
Yeah. Thanks.